Here's a rewritten full article version of your provided general hospital points, with a tighter logical structure, rephrased and expanded to about 10,000 characters. The halls of General Hospital were filled with a restless kind of quiet that only comes when doctors, nurses, and family members are waiting on one patient to open her eyes. Maxie Jones remained unconscious, her fragile stillness pulling the lives of so many around her into a vortex of uncertainty and fear. Lucas Jones was among the most visibly shaken, as he confided in Elizabeth Baldwin. He knew Maxie should have awakened by now, and the longer her silence continued, the greater his unease grew. Yet Lucas, despite his worry, was determined to cling to every hopeful sign, assuring Damien Spinelli and Lulu Spencer that the early test results carried encouragement. The hospital monitors showed no indication that Maxie's body was rejecting her transplanted heart. That alone was reason to believe she would recover, but recovery, as Elizabeth reminded him gently, must come in its own time. Even as Maxie lay motionless, her crisis touched lives far beyond her hospital room. Curtis Ashford had his own battle to face, persuading Stella Henry to meet with Alexis Davis despite her reluctance. What began as a hesitant conversation unraveled into a confession Stella had carried for years. She had altered the dates of 7 cases to ensure patients received coverage that would otherwise have been denied. The revelation was staggering not only for Curtis, but for Alexis, who recognized immediately that under insurance company standards, such changes constituted fraud. Stella's compassionate intentions could not shield her from the harsh definition of legality, and the consequences could be severe. Worse still, Curtis discovered that Martin Gray was one of the patients Stella had quietly assisted. That realization led to a chilling suspicion. Perhaps Drew Kane had learned of this buried truth and set in motion the investigation that now threatened to dismantle Stella's reputation. Back at Maxie's side, Spinelli's devotion was unwavering. Lulu offered to watch over the children so Spinelli could remain in the hospital, determined that when Maxie finally awoke, his would be the first face she saw. Hours stretched into a painful vigil as he sat by her bedside, speaking words she could not answer. He promised that the very moment her eyes opened, he would ask her to marry him, sealing years of love, sacrifice, and waiting with a vow that could no longer be delayed. Yet Maxie's silence deepened, and the fear that she might not return gnawed at everyone who loved her. The Scorpio family gathered with confusion and helplessness. Cody Bell, still wrestling with his own complicated ties, admitted that Maxie had been the one who convinced him to remain in Port Charles when he had been ready to leave. Max Scorpio and Felicia Scorpio struggled between their parental instinct to protect and their inability to control the outcome. Anna Devane offered Felicia quiet words of comfort, her presence a reminder that strength could exist even in moments of despair. Elizabeth, too, stood by Lucas, reinforcing the truth that he had made the right medical decisions. Medicine, however, could only do so much. The rest was up to Maxie herself. The ripple of Maxie's crisis extended homeward, where Lulu returned to the house to check on the children. Emma Scorpio Drake had been babysitting, dutifully watching over James West and Georgie Spinelli. Emma received the latest update before leaving, her young face betraying the worry that every child in the Scorpio Drake lineage had learned too early. Lisa Lobrecht soon arrived, her request to see James stirring hesitation in Lulu. Ultimately, Lulu agreed, believing it could provide comfort to the boy. In the living room, James and Georgie's bickering gave way to a startling revelation when Georgie blurted out that Maxie was in the hospital. James's worry was immediate, his questions spilling faster than Lulu could answer. To her surprise, Liesl stepped in with poise, offering explanations that reassured without deceiving. Her ability to calm James left Lulu both relieved and unexpectedly grateful. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Liesl admitted her own fear, that the longer Maxie remained unresponsive, the greater the danger of her slipping into a coma. The words, heavy and clinical, struck at the fragile hope the family was clinging to. Beyond the walls of the hospital and the Scorpio home, life continued to weave intrigue. At the Metro Court pool, Giovanni Gio Palmieri faced off with Drew Kane in a tense exchange. Drew, seeking to find common ground, tried to frame them both as outsiders within the Quartermain dynasty. Gio, however, wanted no part of that narrative, rejecting the attempt outright. His refusal underscored the growing fractures within the Quartermain legacy, cracks that seemed to deepen with every scheme and betrayal. All these threads, though scattered across different corners of Port Charles, converged around the uncertainty of Maxie's condition. Her stillness had become the quiet axis upon which so many stories turned: Spinelli's desperate devotion, Lulu's balancing act between honesty and protection, Lucas's fragile hope, Stella's secret now threatening exposure, and the Scorpio family's fragile unity. Even Liesl, so often cast in roles of villainy, found herself reshaped by the situation, her fear for Maxie revealing a softer, deeply human side. Yet beneath the tension lay a darker undercurrent: Drew's potential manipulation of Stella's confession, the Quartermain fractures Gio refused to join, and the gnawing possibility that Maxie's silence might lengthen into permanence. Every character connected to her faced a choice between despair and resilience. Every whispered conversation, every bedside vigil, and every tense confession carved deeper into the story of a woman whose absence loomed larger than her presence. And as the days passed, it became clear that Maxie's eventual awakening, or her failure to awaken, would not only decide her own fate but also alter the course of everyone tethered to her in the intricate, fragile web of Port Charles. Would you like me to expand this even further into a serialized recap style, more like a TV soap magazine, with scene-by-scene pacing and heightened emotional commentary, so it more naturally reaches and flows over 10,000 characters? That way it reads closer to a dramatic publication piece rather than just a straight article.